want you to watch this video from the beginning till the end of it. Pay attention. In fact, if you want to take note, bring out your pen and diary or paper to write. Let us listen to Pastor Adeboye speak.
I told you that at a time, 4 of the real billionaires in Nigeria were in this family. And pride came because they were, the tithe that was coming to the main church through this family was hefty. By that definition, of the time. All of a sudden, a handful of the big men, not the ones I mentioned, wrote to me and said, every month you must give to us an account of how you are spending our tithes.
Matters of monetary calculation and imputation. Grammatical.
I said, okay. What they're asking for is all right. They're simply asking for transparency, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I say, however, I have gone through the Bible. I have not found a place where God spoke to Moses and said, every month you must give an account of the tithe of the children of Israel to them.
I will pause and take that again.
I have gone through the Bible. I have not found a place where God spoke to Moses and said, every month you must give an account of the tithe of the children of Israel to them.
You see?
I said, all right, I will do 2 things. Number 1, I will prepare a detailed account of how your money is spent, including if we buy a bottle of Coke for first-timers. I will put it in a file. And every month, when you people come for the Holy Ghost service, that file will be on the table. I won't give it to you. I will put it on the table. Anyone who wants to see can go and read. But make sure you wait till I have left the room. Because I know everything that we are doing on earth is being recorded in heaven. I don't want my God to say, you are the one who handed it to them and you were there when they were reading. And I did that. Number 2, I told the treasurer, from now on, any tithe that comes from this family, don't add it.
I want you to take your time to think back. Who are those families that are members of Rccg and can be called through billionaires? When I say through billionaires, I'm not saying that they got it legit.
I'm talking to you now like father and special children. Nobody had ever had this one from me before. So for 2 years, how many years? 2 solid years. Every kobo that came from this family was kept in a separate account. Let me just find out if God is bigger than the biggest, richer than the richest. It was when Adeboye came. So you can check all these stories, the people involved are alive. Professor Adeboye came from Ibadan. I sent him here. When I say here, we were only one branch then, just the family. And then, after he's been in the church for some months, he came to me. He said, the people are complaining. The people you asked me to go and join, they are complaining. What's the complaint? They said things are not going well. And they have found out that they offended me. That's why contracts were being cancelled, all manners of things were happening. I said, I'm not quarreling. And God knew. I wasn't quarreling. I just ignored. I pray in the name that's above every other name, what you will do that will cause God to ignore you, you will never do it. If you have done it, may the Almighty God forgive you. Anyway, he then said, when you knew this was a problem, why did you send me? Why did you send me there? I said, I didn't know anything was happening. I was just trying to prove how gracious God can be to me. Then we reconciled. It wasn't everybody that offended. It was a handful. People who thought that they are cleverer than God. And they brought problem to everybody. It will interest you to know that every one of those involved in that little group, they are no longer in the church. And they are not where they ought to be. Let me just put it like that.
Not going to be cheap. That's why, number one, I want to call on those of you who believe you are in the top 10. Ìdí nìyí tí mo fi fẹ́ pé ẹ̀yin tí ẹ rò pé ẹ wà nínú abala èèyàn mẹ́wàá àkọ́kọ́. Who by the grace of God can give 1 billion naira. Who by the grace of God can give 1 billion naira. Who by the grace of God can give 1 billion naira. Who by the grace of God can give 1 billion naira. Ẹni nípa orí ọ̀fẹ́ Ọlọ́run alààyè tí wọ́n lè fún wa ní bílíọ̀nù kọ̀ọ̀kan. Such people should please see my secretary in the office tonight for a very special announcement. Kí gbogbo orú àwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ rí akọ̀wé mi nínú ọ́fíìsì wa lálẹ́ yìí fún ìfitónilétí pàtàkì kan. And then there will be some of you who can say, Daddy, I wish I can give 1 billion, but all I can afford is 100 million. Àwọn kan wà tí wọ́n ní pé bóyá àwọn ìgbà fẹ́ ṣe bílíọ̀nù kan yìí, ṣùgbọ́n ohun tí wọ́n lè rí sípa wọn ká, òun náà ni 100 mílíọ̀nù. Such people should also see my secretary after the program tonight. Irú àwọn.
May God help us. Money issue is not an easy thing, eh? Even in church, it is not an easy thing. This world, money, money, money. Money on my mind, money, money, money. Wow, that is deep. That is deep. There are two ways to look at this. First, God can provide for you, not just for you to be comfortable, but for you to prosper. Is work on earth. When I say his work on earth, I mean the work of soul winning, taking care of the poor and the needy. Of course, there are other things attached to preaching the gospel, such as transportation and the basic amenities that we all know, basic amenities that we all enjoy. Now, the problem majority I've seen is that their pastors are always better than them. I kind of understand how this works. You see, if you are poor and you are telling someone that God will bless them, they will first look at you to know if that God or that formula works for you. So you definitely want to look fresh and clean. Then, when you talk about private jets, which has been the bone of contention, if a church can, they should be able to have a private jet. But then, is that private jet on the name of the church? Will that private jet be left after the pastor is done? But then, when you talk about the pastor finishing, the pastor or pastors, bishops, they never finish as they hand over to their children. Like what we were talking about, and I saw some comments, but it is expected anyway. I've already dealt with that part. I'm not going to talk about that here. So Pastor Adeboye spoken about certain individuals in church who are rich. Now there are 3 sections in the church, or let us call them 4 sections in the church, or groups in the church, like Rccg. And you'll find them in all, society, group, ministry, whatever you call it, you'll find such there, depending on what it is created for. But let us look at the church, like Rccg. You have the poor, those who have nothing. Those poor are the group that the son of the pastor, Leke Adeboye, will berate and say, look at these people, who do you think we are? Look at these people coming to us asking for educational scholarship. What do you people think we are? Those are the people in the poor group. Those that Leke Adeboye berated, saying they came asking for food and he asked them to do trade by barter. Do you think we're a charity home or organization? Yeah, that is the man or young man that wants to take over the church. Those are the people that belong to the poor group. Then, the middle class group, maybe you're a banker, a cashier in the bank, or you have a job and every month your take home is maybe about 200,000, 250. You're in the middle class. 300, you're in the middle class. 400, you're in the middle class. Then the rich that Pastor Adeboye referred to are those, like he said, who get contract. Maybe they will not execute the contract. Many of those people are the reason why Nigeria is where it is. Now, this brings me back to what the former CBN governor said. He said a pastor of one of the big churches, and I know he's speaking about Rccg. Some of you might want to quickly jump to the comment section. How do you know? Well, I'll let you into it. He said an issue came up. Someone took a loan and, a lot of things happened. And this person was to be prosecuted. The pastor stepped in and that person was not prosecuted. Money not returned. Everything died down. Well, if it were in a sinner climb, I'm not saying corruption and cover-up does not happen. There are times that some things are much deeper than what we think they are. Anyway, I'm just going to rely on what he said. He said it was covered up and that's just it. Now, if Pastor Adeboye could say he's waiting on some people that will put 1 billion naira into the church account and he wants like 100 people, he could be saying this to prompt them to, ask God for more ideas to be richer, or he knows that there are people who can drop that amount of money. It is true that there are people who are rich, regardless. There are people who are blessed. They are not criminals. They are not thieves. God simply opened their doors. But if you look closely in Africa, look closer, look at Nigeria, for example, majority of those who can drop billions of naira in church as donation are criminals. They are career criminals, political criminals. Those who get contracts and they don't execute it. Many of them will do that. Like I said, there are people who are rich. God bless them. Or they just have the idea to make money. There are people who have been making money. Their grandfathers, great ancestors have been making money. They are not just loud. There are people who are rich and they have not done anything bad or evil. They've just applied common sense and they are rich. I'm not saying they do not exist. They do exist. There are people who are rich. But the pastor said those rich people. Now, who are the other group? Those are the A-list. Those are the number one citizen in the church. If we begin to talk about those people, let us pick one of them, Remi Tinubu. Yes, Remi Tinubu. When they drop tithe, the ground will shake. Yes, Remi Tinubu is one of those people, and you can count several others that are in that church. Back in those days, I don't know if till now, till date, Dele Momodu used to be part of that church. So Dele Momodu will be part of the rich people, whilst Remi Tinubu will be part of those billionaires in the church. Billionaires. So their money is accepted regardless of if the accusation is, oh, the money is from, you know what I mean, how many of these families made money in Nigeria. Well, I don't know if the way you make money is important, as long as you drop it in, drop it on the altar or at the foot of God, like, okay, you know what, this is what I have. I don't know. I don't want to dwell on that, but I'm just kind of expanding on what the pastor is saying and the reactions of people out there saying, oh, pastor, so you're trying to brainwash us into what we are having problems of in Nigeria, accountability. Now, for those who live abroad, are there churches that account for income, expenses in church? If you're a member of Baptist, is it done in your church or not? According to Pastor Adeboye, he said he has not found any of that in the Bible. Is it a doctrine, law, or is it God's commandment? Because we need to separate these things together, because it's the pastor that said if you don't give your tithe, you will go to hell. I don't know, maybe he got it wrong or he's simply saying what he wants to say. And I'm not saying that people should not donate money in church. In fact, some have said that tithe is not even part of it, that you should give to God without holding back. But tithe is more constant. If you start telling people to give to God without holding back, they might decide like, this year I'm not going to give totally, I will give next year. But tithe is constant. And if you attach fear, punishment to it, you know how it is. I don't know what your thoughts are, because there are a lot of debate and talks about, this money thing, particularly in the African church. It is deep. Billionaires in the church, those handful of rich ones, are no longer in the church. And he said they are not where they are. Is Remi Tinubu still a member of that church? Since, the other billionaire also, ex-vice president, that wanted to be president but could not become president. Those are the billionaires. When they drop tithe, the whole church will shake. It is not easy. Money matter. So I've kind of expanded on this a little, not much, but I want you to comment below. What do you think about the speech of Pastor E.A. Adeboye?